Hey, we're live, actually. I like saying we're live, but yeah, this is a temporary setup. This should sound a lot better than last time because we have two different microphones, even though we're in the same room. We do have an echo effect, but we're trying. It's not a professional setup. If you want to say something,
What's up, guys? This is Susan with Chris, our favorite blue collar loser. And tonight we are reviewing episode 2 of House of the Dragon. What's the episode called this time around, Chris?
what's funny is when this episode came out, they keep doing this stuff HBO. So I did another podcast with a friend of mine named Nadia, and it was funny. We're just this episode two, and even after midnight, there wasn't no official title, but now according to HBO, the official title is Rhaenyra the Cruel, which okay, I guess makes sense. But yeah, we'll get into it. So I did make some slides right here, and yeah, so next time I'll just make sure to avoid the constant us taking turns talking. It's a weird setup, I know, but we'll get a good system going here. All right, but all right, we'll start off. So Rhaenyra the Cruel, and this is a very long episode, and I just took took stills accordingly. I'm not gonna have a whole play by play. Well, depends on how much you want to talk about it, but a whole scene by scene playback. Also, I'm using stills because HBO and YouTube and everybody, I'm just very cautious about showing footage anymore since they just love blocking people for stuff. And usually pictures are pretty well. And I'll keep making this disclaimer every single time we talk because it's not me. It's just I don't want to get my video blocked. But we have the opening right here, and of course the whole wiener, which we're used to. We're back to the murals, and yeah, House of Dragon episode 2. All right, now we start off with the aftermath of the last episode, and some piece of shit killed a baby. Any comments?
So, obviously, Aegon's pissed off. He's destroying his father's, model of, Old Valyria, which we're all very familiar with from season 1. Helena's just in shock. Like, everyone doesn't know what to do. You start off by seeing maids grabbing the freaking bed bedding and it's just covered in blood. And there's a scene where they're talking about Blood's running towards the gates. Blood the big brute who initially is the one chopping off his Jaehaerys's head. He's running towards the gates and he's got Jaehaerys's head and he's plans to bring it back to Dragonstone. Aemon's coming back to his quarters. He sees that the coins are gone. He sees the entryway open on his door. If you want to click forward, I think that's one of the stills. His room.
That's a weird setup, but we gotta keep pausing. We start talking. But
Mhm.
I just want to show this part right here because I thought this was a very interesting scene because his father, King Viserys, he spent so much time in here building up this little miniature castle, and it's kind of like his Legos and everything, and just how quickly it's kind of a disrespect by Aegon and just not understanding how important this was to his father. But in some ways, you could say it's a simile, it's a symbolism of the old out with the old and in with the new. But it was to me a powerful scene because he's pissed off. I'll kill him. I want war. But man, kid, do you understand how many days and months and years your father took to build that shit? You just destroyed everything, and I'm like, that's fucked up.
It very much was, but at the same point, it's like you said, very big symbolism because it was something Viserys focused on so much. And to Aegon, it's nothing because right now he's highly pissed. His little baby boy just got killed. There we have Aemon, and he sees the secret passageway door, the coin that was not taken, and you can tell he's thinking about it what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, very very powerful scene, and just that was left over. And I mean, yeah, Aegon's not doing much right now. We have Queen Alicent, and boy, she's having some talks with her father, Otto, the Hand of the King. And so many people said this right here, where she's like, "Yes, what they did to my baby girl, which is the trauma of seeing your kid get decapitated in front of you." But she is just you want to feel sorry for her in a sense because she's like, well, maybe the gods aren't punishing um like her and my son directly. They're punishing me for all the sins I've done. And basically, I was just like, what's going on? And Allison is very fucking selfish, and she's more worried about her guilt and her honor because she's fucking Kristen Cole versus like your grandkid just got killed and
Mhm.
your baby or well your grandkid's head got cut off in front of your daughter. Like you're more worried about your guilt versus like the kid's dead. Holy shit, lady.
It's very powerful because you understand where Aegon's coming from. That's his child. That's all he's pissed off about is the fact that it's his child who freaking died. Helena, she is highly upset. It's her child who freaking died. Even Otto, to some degree, yes, he's plotting, yes, he's scheming, yes, he's pissed off, whatever. Even Rhaenyra on Dragonstone, when she finds out that Jaehaerys has been killed, she's pissed, and she's like, "I would, I wouldn't want a 4-year-old child to be killed." She's like, and no matter how much she's pissed off at her brother, she's like, "I would never do that to Helena." And but Allison has, like, so she's not empathetic in any way, shape, or form. If that had been one of her sons, she wouldn't have thought twice over the fact that her kid had died. It would have been the implication of, like, what was her sin that caused that in the first place? Whereas Rhaenyra, you saw Rhaenyra's pain when Luke was killed. You see Helena and Aegon's pain when Jaehaerys is killed. It shows the difference between the parents in the show, in all honesty.
Yeah, now some people are pissed off at Otto. They think he's well, he can be a scumbag, no doubt, and he's being selfish. I took that as coming forward where he still is a grandfather. He's also hand of the king, and this was also the problem as we get into this episode between Damon and Rhaenyra last episode with Rhaenys because yes, you are a grieving mother. You're also the queen. Otto is thinking from a politician standpoint. He's thinking as a tactician. It's kind of a dickhead move in a sense, but he's not wrong. What he wants to do is twist it because he says we're but maybe some good yet may come of this, and the good is going to be that now we're going to blame everything on Rhaenyra, and we're going to have more people coming to our side. We're going to start recruiting more people, and this next scene really good, really powerful because we have Aegon understandably so pissed off. He's flipping out. My son. He said, "Here, my son was supposed to be heir to the throne," and of course, he goes like, freaking Kristen, Kristen, where were you the entire time? And I was abed. You're abed. You're supposed to be a safeguard of my family. And I mean, in some ways, he was. He made sure the queen was protected last night.
Yeah, he definitely made sure she was protected. And that's also something too, as the show progresses on this episode, when Allison goes to Helena to like check on her, the first thing she goes is, "What you saw last night?" And she's like, and Helena just she didn't even like register what her mom and Kristen Cole were doing. She didn't care. She literally ran out of her room holding her daughter as her son's getting his head chopped off. Like nothing else in the world mattered to her. But Allison, as selfish as she is, that's the first thing she thinks of.
Yeah, and he's just like flipping out. Where of course, well, who did this? We're not sure. Of course, he's like, but we know who did this. It's Rhaenyra. Automatically, he wants to blame Rhaenyra, which it's weird because you would think that your sister has some more class than to kill her nephew, but in Rage, and also this is the Game of Thrones, this is the House of Dragon. They're not sure, but he is like saying she's at the Rock, she's mocking me from Dragonstone, and the whole council they're basically telling him to calm down. And of course, the cripple dude, what's the cripple's dude's name?
Laurie Strong.
Yeah, he pops up and he says, "Yeah, if I may, as you said, they were running away, and the guard they found blood, and which what made it even more grim is that when he found blood, he had the friggin' baby's head in a sack." But the entire council basically says that, hey, listen, you may have more than just one enemy. It may not be just Rhaenyra. The king has enemies all around. We need to question this guy, interrogate him, and find out what's going on. And the council, they're not wrong. They're thinking from again a tactician standpoint. But and the same thing with Otto. Otto, he is being, he's being the hand to the king. I keep telling people that in Game of Thrones, in this world, the king is like the president, Otto's like the vice president. I'm assuming it's the hand. And the vice president, it's your job to keep the president in check. And he's thinking like, you can't just rush in there, but also what's this dude's name? The is the master not Master Coin, but he's one of the Lannisters here. He says you mean to blame Rhaenyra. Right, guys.
Thailand.
Yeah, Tywin. He says, you mean to blame Rhaenyra?" And Otto's basically like, "Yes, we're gonna blame Rhaenyra. Tell the realm she did this." And Aegon flips out saying, "I don't want the realm to know we were assaulted within our own walls. We'll be seen as weak." And Otto's like, "Yeah, you're already seen as weak."
Well, here's the thing too. Now, to keep going back to it, as you were saying of, you know, when he immediately is like, it was Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's the one who did this. Automatically, the reason why his mind goes to that is because in his mind, he's like, you know, Aemon killed Luke. And because Aemon killed Luke and she lost her son, she went after my son to even the score. But she still has four other sons. I had the one. So, yeah. I mean, all things considered, I have to give some credit to the kid who plays Aegon in this episode. Actually, in the first two episodes of the season, he's done an amazing job so far. Because you want to hate the Green faction, and for the most part, you do hate a lot of them, but I'm not really hating Aegon right now.
Yeah, that's the entire scene, of course. And like you say, want to name Rhaenyra's monster, but Aegon, he's upset. He's flipping out, which he should be. But he's like, I don't want to see my son, my son's body dragged through the street like a dog. But Otto says he's not going to be like a dog. It's going to be as a Targaryen prince, and we're using him as an honor. It says right there, we'll take him down to the keep there and burn him. Be burned like a Targaryen prince. Otto, and also I do like that scene right there because you could say Otto's being whatever, but he goes, let it be said, let no one say I do not grieve. You know, I'm not sure what Otto's head is that we don't, but I'm assuming that yes, he's a grieving grandfather, but this is a time for tactics and politics.
Grieving great grandfather.
But and he makes a good point. He's like, I will not have him die in vain. It's like it's a shitty situation. We could make it worse, or we could use this to our advantage. And it's like this is, people did ask me like, Chris, what would you do if you're a father on a different stream? It's like, did you handle it the same way Aegon did? I'm like, you know what? As a father, I would handle it like Aegon did. Also, this is why I would be a terrible king. You know, I talked to friends about this down in the military. Say one of your kids gets killed, you have to make a decision from a military standpoint or a parent standpoint. Often people in the military or politics, they don't like having families because families can be used against you. They can be a weakness. Aegon is understandably a pissed off father, and I do sympathize with him. I have to respect that Otto is being smart, and he says right here, you will have your warrior grace, but if you give it some time though, you play this right, your strength may double, and he's not wrong. That's the fucked up part. Allison just says that, our my father, the hand, he sets a difficult path, but it might be the right one. And he just talks about the progression. We're gonna have Allison and what's Aegon's sister?
Helena.
Yeah, having them riding behind, and he's like, I won't have the king do it himself. But yeah, it just makes it all look good. But yeah, we have Allison, and she's talking to her daughter Elena, and says to her, "We have to do this. I don't want to do this." Um, Allison is basically saying that this is our duty as women, and this is a very messed up scene because right there, I captured this line, Susan, where she's like, "Yeah, what you saw last night when you came to my room, bitch. Again, your fucking grandkid got killed. You're more worried about your daughter caught you fucking Kristen Cole."
And this is the thing is Helena, like I said, she's not paying attention to what her mother's doing. She's literally running with her child to her mother's quarters as her son is being killed. She's not paying attention to anything. Just if I go to my mother, I know I'll be safe. That's all that's going through her mind. Allison is just the worst fucking mother in this whole show at this point. It's like Rhaenyra loves her kids. Like everyone questions her children's paternity, rightfully so, considering they are whatever. Like Rhaenys loves her kids dearly. Rhaenyra loves her kids dearly. Helena loves her kids dearly. Emma loved Rhaenyra. Allison, on the other hand, acts like she does not give a shit about these guys in one way or another. And she's been so obsessed with Rhaenyra for years that it's pitiful. But Rhaenyra, as a mother, in comparison, all of her sons have been loved by her, by Laenor, by Harwin Strong, even to some degree Damon. And it's like, um, what? Whereas, and Viserys is the same. Like, you love Viserys, you love the way he's played, you love everything about him, but you have to realize the only kid he gave a shit about was Rhaenyra. He didn't care about Aegon. He didn't care about Helena. He didn't care about Aemond. And we find out as well in this episode. I already knew this. You did not. They have a younger son than Aemond named Daron, who is in Old Town with House Hightower. That shows how much they care about this kid. So it's it's just so fucked up to me how, like, she has so much hatred and resentment and all this different shit towards Rhaenyra at different points, and she's so obsessed with how Rhaenyra is. You're so obsessed with how Rhaenyra is. Why not, like, try and emulate her and be a better fucking mother? Seriously, better grandmother, something. Hell, Lena freaking died. Rhaenyra took in her girls and has been a better mother to those two fucking girls than Alicent has been towards her own biological daughter. And this to me, like, I get where Otto's coming from, but it is literally the worst fucking thing in the world to do to Helena. The worst thing to do to Helena. Alicent is Alicent. She is like a stoic bitch at this point. No one gives a fuck about her, but poor freaking Helena. Like, she already had to be the one to say, like, that's my son, go ahead and kill him, basically. She literally had to be the one to tell her mother that her son was being killed. And now she has to sit in a freaking wagon and ride behind his corpse on the way to the set. She's one of those characters where it's like she doesn't do much, but the things that she does do, like, it draws you to her. And you know she's on the side that everyone wants to lose, so it makes you feel so freaking bad. It's like Tyrion. Everyone hated the Lannisters, but everyone loved Tyrion. Ugh.
Yeah, well said. This is a very powerful scene. Upcoming next, which was pretty damn funny. So we get blood. They caught him, and people people joked. I wish I could show it, but the cripple guy there. I'll let you say his name in a second. He pulls out some tools. He doesn't even touch him, and just off the bat, I was hired by Lord Damon. Like, damn, dude, talk about fucking no loyalty. He just rats him out. It's like Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, I'm naming names. I'm saying whatever I gotta say. And he does say to him, he's like, he doesn't know Cheese's name. He just says a rat catcher, and he's just basically, this entire scene. It's so weird because this guy's like shaking. He's all fucked up. He's all afraid what they're gonna do to him. It's like, dude, you're worried about the. Hold up a second. You just murdered the king's son. You just, on top of, you sawed off the head of a fucking 4-year-old, and you're worried about them torturing you. You're a real piece of shit, bro.
So, the crippled guy that you keep referring to, his name is Laurice Strong. It rhymes with Varys, by the way. So, yeah, it is pretty fucked up that Blood, the first thing he does, he's like, I was hired by Prince Daemon. It was a rat catcher who was my, like, partner. Like, he is pretty fucked up in that sense. Like, dude, come on. And this is part of the reason why Daemon was like, I'll pay you half now, half later. Because they didn't kill the right prince. They got caught. You literally looked up Larry Strong. Idiot. No. They You killed the wrong prince. You freaking got caught, and then you rat on everyone. You did not earn your freaking keep, dude. You earned your death.
It's always funny how criminals are. This guy's like, some big tough guy murders a kid. Now it's your time, dude, and I cry like a fucking bitch. But yeah, so this procession goes on. I'm assuming this is a doll. I mean, I doubt unless they have like a 4-year-old play pretend, but I had to capture this picture because the detail of, like, somebody, imagine being the poor bastard who had to sit there and take a dead body of a baby and actually sew back on a fucking kid's head. Like, I know it's a small detail, but you can imagine being that guy where like, yeah, so what'd you do this morning? Jeff, well, come home to your wife and kid, just like, you know what, I need a drink. But just think, guys, when you're watching this, if you thought you had a fucking bad day at work, imagine this poor bastard. Like, yeah, this is my. So just sit there and, on their head and just like that, and oh boy, that's good makeup job. But yeah, we are getting some people, the crowds. You know, they're all saying we support Queen Helena. They're throwing rice to her and things like that, and you can tell. And of course, right here, I saved it. Look, they said the thing. They said the thing. The thing. Rhaenyra the Cruel. It's like the name of the episode.
And it really makes you feel bad for Rhaenyra because Rhaenyra around the same time, she's learning that this baby just was killed. And she did not wish him dead. She wanted Aemond. She wanted her brother, not her nephew. Uh, and here's Blood like a bitch. Are you gonna hurt me? Yeah, bitch, he's gonna hurt you. And Helena's just freaking out the whole freaking time, as any freaking grieving mother would. Like, it's overwhelming enough as it is. She's very delicate to begin with. She always has been. Like, she does not do well under pressure. She does not do well in social situations to begin with. And they literally put her in the worst fucking situation by one, her child just died. You have her following his corpse to the set. And then on top of that, the most socially awkward freaking target. It's like putting me in a room with Randy Orton or you in a room with Ryan Reynolds. Like, okay, maybe our situations aren't as bad, but you feel for her. You really fucking feel for her.
I'm not mad at the Ryan Reynolds joke because you're not wrong. It's man, it's so dreamy. Anyway, yeah, I'm probably gonna see Deadpool multiple times. Also, I know you're gonna laugh at this, but I'm not the only one who thought this. Entire scene is powerful. You are seeing like her freaking out, her getting like people up in her face, and she's like having like a panic attack. When the coffin, not the coffin, the wagon gets stuck, and everyone starts pushing the wagon. At some point, weren't you? You know you were, and everyone watching thinking. At some point, I was waiting for the fucking kid to plop over onto the ground or something.
So, this is not the first time I've heard this. It's sad to begin with. Multiple people have thought that specific thing to begin with is I'm just waiting for like that coffin to like flip over and them to like grab his like dead body or something. And it's like that would just make it a million times worse. And then people would really be cursing Rhaenyra. And it's like, oh, that's horrible. That's just horrible.
Yeah, I was gonna show, but maybe next week I might do more like live stills. But I'm just trying not to show everyone who watched the episode. You know what scene we're talking about, but it was pretty cool. But yeah, so we do get to Rhaenyra, and as you said, she this whole situation's happened. She's unaware because remember, faxes didn't exist back then, telephones. She's gonna find out eventually. So she does find out. Her counsel's telling her that yeah, thousands witnessed the procession, everything's going on, and yeah, first thing she says, you know, we must double our guard here in Driftmark because she's expecting an attack, which understandably so. You would be expecting an attack as payback and shit.
It is true. Like you would not know for like we would know from watching the episode, but they wouldn't know for sure that Rhaenyra wouldn't go and say like, "Hey, like any Targaryen son, kill him." Obviously, like character-wise, Rhaenyra's not going to do that, but she just lost her son. She's not in her right frame of mind to begin with. But she still is to a certain degree where it's like, I know who killed my kid. I know who I want to see like be punished for this. This child had nothing to fucking do with it.
Yeah, just so basically her counsel's advising her just so you know we should it's like right now we need more loyalty, we need more people to our cause, and boy, this just fucked up our cause essentially. And you were saying Rainier right here just says she's like the fact that sorry, your captions would change it. The fact that she's like my own sister would think that I would do this to a kid is just messed up, and Rhaenyra's like, I wouldn't do this shit. I'm not a baby killer. And of course, even one of her own guardsmen says to him, he's like, says to her, "Well, my lady, maybe if you made like a maybe a small lapse in judgment," she's like, "The fact that you even my own now my own guardsmen are questioning me at this point. Like, hey, it's like you think I would do this shit?" And he's like, "Oh, well, maybe you wouldn't, but maybe just you had like a quick like error of judgment." And like that's deep, man.
I want you to go back like one still there. Now, we've talked before about how good um of a replacement for Emily, I forgot what her last name is. The first Allison, how Olivia Cook is such a good replacement for her because they literally look like they could be like mother and daughter. In this specific scene, Emma Darcy does kind of look like Millie Alcock. And when you've like went to the still, I'm just like, damn, like not for nothing, they did do a pretty decent job. But that's all I wanted to say on that part. So,
Yeah, I'm looking right here. So yeah, of course, Olivia Cook is the older Allison. It's
yeah.
Emily Carey is the younger one.
Good.
Yeah, and of course we have she gets over to Damon and she's like, "Man, Damon, this is messed up, and who would do such a thing?" And just after a couple seconds, she's looking at Damon. He has that look on his face, like, and pretty quick, she's like,
So she legit looks at everyone. She's like, leave at this point. Because she's not going to like tear him a new one in front of everyone, but she's gonna tear him a new one because, like, bro, you really sent these motherfuckers to kill this kid. And Damon, to his credit, he's sitting there, he's like, I didn't send him to kill this kid. I sent him to kill the other kid, meaning your brother. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny at the same time because for all things, Damon is not wrong here. He didn't send them to kill Jaehaerys. He sent them to kill Aemond. Aemond just wasn't there. And to their credit, to his credit, to the credit of us who like saw this, you said last episode, you're like, he never said what they should do if they don't find Aemond. And Rhaenyra brings that up. She's like, what did you tell them to do if they couldn't find Aemond? And he doesn't answer. So it's it's kind of it's kind of interesting that like they do touch on like these things because like we as the fans were sitting there we're like, well, Damon never gave him an answer, and then Rhaenyra's like, well, what the hell did you tell them to do? It's like, well, shit, she's asking the same fucking questions we are.
"Yeah, if I share a screen with no audio, if I show a couple seconds, we should be fine." But just that's like look at right there, look at Matt Damon's face, just like, and I can come up here. Sometimes he's Max, but look at his right here. Um, yeah. So and she's just like, "What fucker is you?" He does say like, and just the way Kaiser says it, he's like, "Well, I was clear in my instructions." You're like, "Oh, dude, man, yeah, that's all that you talk is I should next still."
Ugh. And she even says, because he's like, I cannot be responsible for a mistake. And she's like, a mistake cannot be responsible. This is a little child's life. He is much different than his like freaking like 6 foot tall uncle. And she says to him, like, go back. She says, if Aemon was not to be found, what were their orders? Does he answer her? Did he answer them? No. What were the orders? Nothing. Nothing were the orders. But the clearest instruction was kill Aemond. They took it upon themselves to kill Jaehaerys.
As I said earlier, she's like, my own counsel's questioning me, and she says the thing that we've all known, but Damon, I cannot trust you because of what's going on. Now, this is really just some people would say this is the best scene in the episode, but just this back and forth between this two. And I still laugh because it's a whole like, well, when I was a kid, it was kind of fun. When I was a child, I knew what you were as a kind of a challenge, and I still laugh because it's so, and any woman does. And I was on a panel with women, they laugh. The whole like, well, you're a bad boy. I know you're a bad boy, but my magical vagina can change you. Like you thought because what? Because besides fucking him, that you're his niece, but like Damon's not going to change. Men don't change. I'm sorry, bro. He was a prick when you were. He's a prick now. It's no. It's like I'm not mad at Damon. Damon is the whole fucking like. Well, is it the snake? Like you can't get mad at the snake or the scorpion for biting you because it's what they do.
It's not so much the fact that Rhaenyra ever thought she could change him, it's the fact of anyone she figured she could handle him in a way that Rhea Royce never could because, let's face it, he did not like Rhea Royce whatsoever. And as for Lena was too soft. Like Lena was amazing, and they did not give her enough freaking time with all the time jumps and shit. But Lena rode the biggest fucking dragon. She was a fucking badass with how she went out. She was a great mother. She had a freaking like sarcastic nature to her. Fucking love Lena. But where Lena lacked in certain aspects, Rhaenyra could make up for due to the fact that Rhaenyra is a lot like Daemon. They're both hot-headed. They are both dragon riders. They both know how to push people's buttons. They both are very much alike. But the problem is, and we all know this, when two people are very much alike, sometimes they don't work well together. And I'm not saying that Rhaenyra and Daemon probably wouldn't work well together in any other circumstance. If everything played out properly the way it should have, when Viserys died and Rhaenyra just ascended to the throne and everything was cool, like, I'm sure her and Damon, as a married couple, would have been fine. Yes, he'd try the whole, like, well, I'm your husband, so you have to listen to me shit, but it's still the point of, she's your fucking queen, dude. Like, she is the ruling queen of Westeros type thing. And that's where Rhaenys keeps saying it over and over at different points. She says it one time during this episode, she said it last episode. No one takes their orders from Daemon. Their orders are coming from Rhaenyra. He's saying, let's go to war. She's saying, hold back. So everyone else is holding back. And he keeps saying, we need to do this. And Rhaenys told him flat out, she's like, you're not the king, dude. You're not the king. We take our orders from Rhaenyra. When Rhaenyra tells us to do it, we'll do it. But until then, shut your fucking mouth. And that's something where, see, I like this a bit because instead of like going and like grabbing at her, he's literally like more gentle this time with how he like goes and puts his hand on like her like face and neck and whatever.
Yeah, I did want to ask you a question because you know the books more than me and Damon. Now, I think there's two ways you could look at this because she does question Damon, like, were you just using me the entire time to get closer to my father's crown because you feel like you're grasping your stolen inheritance? When she says that he fucking smacks the cup away, and I think she really legit hurt his feelings because, you could say that Damon is selfish and he can be. I do think he does have a love for her. He always has. And like you said, he does grasp her and he's like, he's like, I've been fighting my ass off and I'm fighting for you and you being on a throne. And he said right there, when Sir Eric brought you a crown, I'm the one who put it on your head. But I did want to see your opinion about that. Do you think Damon is this his ploy of because I always took it as Damon loved Viserys, he wanted to be his hand. I never took it as Damon wanted to be king and to rule. She thinks he does, but we all know would be a terrible king. I think he knows it, but some people say that, oh, Damon really does want to be the king. And I never took it as Viserys. I took it as like he was scorned by his brother because Viserys pushed him away and is grooming Rhaenyra to be the next in line. But like I took it as Damon. Some people could say he feels jealous that he didn't get the throne. But I don't. I never thought he wanted it. I think he just wanted to be close to his brother. I could be wrong. I always wanted your opinion on that.
I don't feel Damon wanted the throne. I really don't. Here's why. I've told you before, the Fire and Blood book, a Rogue Prince, the Princess and the Queen, or the Blacks versus Greens, all of that. when you talk about Damon in all of it, everything's always number one, it's not a straightforward story. It's literally a history telling. So it's other people's perspectives written down by a guy hundreds of years later, or 100 years later, rather. And it's literally from the testimony of three people, and most of the time, those people weren't even in the room when two-thirds of the shit was happening. And most of the time, it's more fabricated freaking stories. Everything that they're doing on the show, where they're like, "Oh, this is what's happening," they're literally using it from the viewpoint. Yep, Fire and Blood. They're using it from the viewpoint of this character named Mushroom, who's a dwarf, who's like a court fool, who at certain points he's on Dragonstone and he's giving testimony on shit happening in King's Landing. And he literally sits there, he tries to say Damon gave Rhaenyra blowjob lessons. He freaking like tried to say Rhaenyra was in love with him. And in the same breath, then he calls her a bitch. Then he'll sit there and like he just says all this different stuff. And he's one of the ones who sits there and flat out says that Jace, Luke, and Joffrey are all bastards and that they're Harwin Strong's children. When one of the guys who gives an opinion, he flat out says he always refers to the boys as Valarians, despite the fact that this guy can't stand Rhaenyra. This isn't. This is not technically Mushroom, but it very well could be. But they did find a dwarf. They put him in the show, had him play the drums at Rhaenyra's wedding to Laenor. But there's no guarantee that that's actually Mushroom. Which, if they leave Mushroom out, they leave Mushroom out. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. The thing with Daemon is every time Viserys gave him a like office in some way, shape, or form to try and appease Daemon and keep him close, Otto would always have an issue. He made him the leader of the freaking Gold Cloaks, which I said at one point during our rewatch, Daemon's the one who came up with calling them Gold Cloaks by giving them the Gold Cloaks in the first place. He's the reason for that. So it's like no matter what Viserys would do to try and appease Daemon and keep him close and keep him in King's Landing and keep him at his side in some way, shape, or form, everyone always bitched. I don't feel that he wanted to be Viserys' heir. I feel like if Rhaenyra had been born a boy, he would have been fine with it. I feel like if Balon had lived, he would have been fine with it. I feel like if any child Emma had that had been born and stayed alive had been a boy, he would have been fine with it. Viserys was viewed as weak, but Viserys wasn't weak. Viserys was just more kind-hearted. Whereas Daemon was a rogue, always has been, always will be.
And she says to me, she's like, Damon, thought that your father would, my father, your brother, was scared to lose you, is that he didn't trust you. It's a back and forth. So, but in the end, just Rhaenyra says that you struck a child, and she calls him pathetic. And unfortunately, my screen or the slides came out in a different order. I didn't want that to be at real quick. Yeah, so she calls him pathetic. You're pathetic. You killed a child. And what's Damon do? Well, he walks past his own father, and not the greatest dad. And what is her name? Because I forget these names. Bela. Okay, Bela. Bela has some conversation with Rhaenyra. She wants her to take Moondancer and go on a patrol. And she's like, what's my father doing? He's got to follow his own path. And Damon, my favorite shot, I'll try to pull this up in a second on HBO while you're talking. Syraxes or Cyrax, what's the dragon's?
Caraxes. And for those of you who don't know, Damon's daughter's name is Bela. Moondancer is her dragon.
We get back to the castle, and Helena, she walks past her brother. They have no words at all because it's her brother, but also her husband. And it's kind of cold, and it just shows more of that. These two don't really have like a loving marriage. They're not, as people discuss, this is not Jamie and Cersei. They're just like their marriage, and I know people get grossed out by it's brother and sister. It is, but they don't have like the complexity and the love and passion that Jamie and Cersei did. To them, it's just like it's a matter of fact. It's just a business transaction for these two. It's still gross, no doubt, but like it's definitely different dynamic than what we see from Jamie and Cersei.
So you're 1,000% right with that, first and foremost. They are not together out of love. They were forced into marriage at the ages of like 11 and 14 by their mother. I think that's when they were betrothed to one another. It's one of those things like when they had the family dinner and Helena like stands up and does the toast to Bela and Reina and she's like, I just want to let our little cousins know, like, when you get married, you don't really have to deal with your husband unless he gets drunk and he tries to climb on top of you, type of thing. It's like, and even Otto starts laughing over that, and he's like, that's yeah, that's funny," type of deal, because she just burned the shit out of her brother. Not so much her husband, but her brother. They're both grieving right now, because no matter what, they may not love each other in that type of sense, but they are still siblings. They are still brother and sister, and that was their child who died, and they both feel each other's grief. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like to some people they're probably looking at and they're like, he like is pissed off at her because she was there and she didn't stop it type thing. But in all honesty, I don't think it's so much the fact that he's pissed off at her for not stopping it. I think he feels what she's going through. There's Rhaenyra playing with her two youngest sons with Daemon, Aegon, and Viserys.
Well, people really hate this guy because he is a piece of shit and he has a very fucked up sense of valor and virtue. But he talks to his girlfriend Allison, and the first thing right there she says, "Have you told anyone? Like, bitch, you were obsessed with getting caught. Like, wow."
Her grandchild is dead. Her daughter is traumatized. Her grandchild is dead. Her child is traumatized. Her son is freaking the fuck out. Aemon knows he was supposed to be the one who was supposed to die. And like I said, her youngest child, she probably hasn't seen that kid since birth because he's living in fucking Old Town. Mother of the fucking year. Cersei Lannister, better mother.
But yeah, so Kristen is he's still the leader of the King's Guard, and poor the one brother, I'll let you say his name because I forget, Eric or Derek or some shit.
Arik. Eric's his brother. Eric's the one who is Eric with an E. Arik with an A. Arik supports Aegon. Eric supports Rhaenyra.
It's not gonna matter much after this episode anyway. He is being a dickhead. He talks. He's giving him shit about his cloak being dirty. That's why I captured this line right here for the white cloak is a symbol of purity and celibacy. Like, oh, wait a second, hold on. You're the one giving orders about fucking purity and shit and celibacy. You piece of shit. But he's giving him shit about like what where were you there protecting or why weren't you there protecting? He goes, well, I was with Aegon. He was having drinks with his buddies. And that's why I wasn't there. And boy, this as he's walking away and just he gives it back to him. So Sir Kristen, where were you when fucking blood was cutting off the kid's head? Oh boy, and I'll pull up the scene here from HBO because the rest of the guard to give like that look where as he's walking back, you see them guys they get up, grab a drink, like fuck this shit, I'm out.
Oh god. Yeah. They literally are like, fuck this shit, I'm out. Cause Kristen Cole, that douche. And of course, Kristen Cole sends Eric, not Eric, Arik. See, now you got me confused over who's who. Kristen Cole sends Arik to Dragonstone to pose as his twin brother to gain access, go in, and kill Rhaenyra. this is his way of being like, you know what? If I send him, I'll earn so many brownie points. We stop the war before it begins. Aegon has peaceful fucking reign. Do I like the plan? Absolutely fucking not. 100% Team Black. Love Rhaenyra. Can't stand Kristen Cole. But have to give credit where credit's due. He was actually smart for once.
We have a scene between, and I know you're gonna kill me for the names because I don't know the names. What are they?
So the one holding the crossbow, that's Baela Targaryen, Daemon's daughter with Lena. And the gentleman beside her, that's Jacaerys Velaryon, Rhaenyra and Laenor's son, Harwin Strong's son. One of the two. Both of them. I don't know. Either way, Rhaenyra's kid and Daemon's kid. They're betrothed, by the way. Oh, that's Aemond with a whore. Anyhow, no. So Bayla's taking out some frustration due to the fact that she's pissed off at her dad. She understands where Rhaenyra's coming from. She's like, look, she didn't ask for this. My dad did something stupid. I know it was my dad who did something stupid. She's like, all I have to do is look at him and I know it was him. And she's trying to take out her frustration before she has to leave on Moon Dancer to go patrolling near King's Landing. Jace also, yet again, it's one of those things. They love Daemon, but they hate Daemon. And they know he's a dumbass. And that's why she looks at him and she's like, what do you remember of Laenor and Harwin? Like, do you remember them well? Like, how were they as fathers? And someone touched on this at one point in one of the videos I watched recently of this episode. Balin knows. Like, she's not giving any pretense. She knows for a fact. Like, yeah, Laenor may have been, in the eyes of many, the father of Jace, Luke, and Joffrey, but everyone knows Harwin Strong was the real dad. She knows Jace knows Harwin Strong was his real dad. So she asks him, how was Sir Harwin Strong as a father? And he tells her like it is. He doesn't lie to her. He's like, he was a good guy. He's like, he was strong. They called him Breakbones. He's like, he treated us well. Later, he's like, he did too. He'd bring us fishing. He taught us like sea songs. He taught us about our dragons. Like, he's basically tells her, he's like, if I could pick any better guy to be my father, I couldn't because I had two of the best fathers there ever could have been.
Still upset because so far we're in season 2 of House of the Dragon. Still no wieners. I'm upset about that. I don't know why. But Eamon, and I did want to hear your thoughts on this. Eamon looks disturbingly like, dude, eat a fucking cheeseburger or something. Like, I mean, holy shit.
So you are not the first person to say this. You're definitely not the first person to think this. I thought this. I'm like, why can we see his ribs? Like, he's supposed to be like, yeah, he's like willowy. He's supposed to be like whatever, but he's supposed to have like some form of muscle mass. They're riding fucking dragons. You're supposed to have like a little bit of muscle tone to you. He looks anorexic. And it's like, you couldn't bulk up a little bit for this?
It was a good scene because he did say that he felt honored that his uncle Damon considered him a threat to want to kill him. And if Damon really thought Aemon was a threat, why send two morons like Blood and Cheese to kill him? Because Damon could and should have just done it himself. I do feel like, that's kind of a inconvenience or maybe a plot hole with this whole situation. Because Damon, if you want Aemon dead, you do it. Because Damon's a good fucking fighter. He would have the skill to kill his nephew, not two fucking morons.
So this is something too, and I think this is also why Rhaenyra was as pissed as she is. Because if Daemon had just gone in and killed Aemon himself, she wouldn't have cared. But the fact that he sent in two morons who killed a 4-year-old rather than going through the Red Keep and finding his way to Aemon's quarters and killing Aemon himself, I mean, it's either Daemon wants the war to start and just wants the war in general and wants to get rid of like the High Towers and wants to get rid of the High Tower Targaryens, and just keep like Rhaenyra, her kids, his kids, and their kids together, or he's gotten like dumber in his old age.
I didn't get what was going on here. Maybe you could elaborate because I'm like, what was the point of this scene right here with this kid and this guy? I don't know what the fuck was going on.
In the book, there are different people who come and they're known as dragon seeds. These are people who have been born of Targaryen descent or Valorian descent, and they have dragon riding abilities. And there are different ones throughout, and some of them, they're not even Targaryen or Valorian in any way, shape, or form. They just found different ways to get the dragons to obey them. This dude, his name's Hugh. He's like small folk. Him, his wife, his daughter. His daughter's dying. His wife's basically like, honestly, I can't get pissed off at Rhaenyra for doing something that I would do.
To Corlys and Rhaenys. I know you laughed when we watched this together. We said that Damon and Rhaenyra, he's like, yeah, I have on occasion found that to be quite enjoyable. And Rhaenys is laughing too. But what's the context of what their bedtime pillow talk right here?
Rhaenys keeps saying, and I said it earlier, and I said it last episode. Rhaenys keeps saying to Damon, like, you are not the king. Rhaenyra's the queen. We take our orders from her. And that is where she's talking about it with Corlys. Like, with everything going on, like Rhaenyra's going to need someone at her side who like can steer her in the right direction. Damon is not that person. That person. Damon Damon wants to be in control, but Damon's not in control. He is not the king. And Corlys is like, but he's the king consort. And she's like, he still has to answer to Rhaenyra. And he's like, and she's like, and he will not be controlled by Rhaenyra. And that's where he makes his little joke where he's like, wow, a man having to be controlled by his wife. He's like, I have to admit, there are a lot of times where I like that. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's funny. But it's something that Rhaenys is very serious about. He will not bend to Rhaenyra's will, and he will try to bend her to his. She's stubborn as well, and she will stick to her guns, and he will stick to his guns, and it's just a disaster waiting to happen. It's not that, like, and I said it earlier, it's not that they don't love each other. They do love each other. It's just there's a lot of ways why she does not trust him.
So now we're back to Rhaenyra. And okay, so she's breaking down the white worm is her name. I forgot her name already, but I'll let you break what's
Massaria.
it? Okay, so what's your relationship with Damon? And she says, oh wait a second. Yeah, I remember you from when I was a kid back in season one. She was a child, and she's talking about her being her fueling information to the high towers, but also relationship with Damon. At some point, Rhaenyra is going to need Massaria for future endeavors. We do have a person that's in the mud and they're in the sand. They are, I guess, digging for crabs or something.
Dragon in question that he's watching is that's actually Bela on Moondancer flying off. The person in the sand digging and finding the crabs and like shells and all that sort of crap, that's actually Adam of Hole, brother of Alan.
If I show a couple seconds, we should be good with no sound. But yeah, here's the pretty little silver dragon flying around. Oh, pretty. Whenever you hear about the budget for House of the Dragon, this is where the budget goes. Just excellent, man. I love these wide shots. Now, a very impactful scene because, well, what they do, because Blood told these guys that there's rat catchers, they decided to basically hang every fucking rat catcher in the city. They did get cheese. I mean, they didn't know it was cheese, but they did get cheese. And also, we do see mothers, fathers, they're grieving, they're crying. And this will have an impact later on. But yeah, because of what Blood said, he didn't know the name of cheese. And they just decided to say, fuck, we'll just kill every rat catcher in the city. Which is comes the next scene between Otto and a
And that's the thing is they didn't know who Cheese was, but they got every freaking rat catcher. And there are mothers, brothers, sisters, fathers, wives, daughters, like all sitting there, like bawling their eyes out because they're like, you know, that's our father, brother, husband, son. This is one of those scenes. It's like the first time Otto lost the hand of the king with Viserys, I was like, "Yes!" This time around, I'm like, "Oh,
For
no."
me, this is my favorite scene of the entire episode. And wouldn't say I'm so much on Otto's side, but Otto just basically says, "Yeah, the rat catchers." He calls Damon or Amon a fucking idiot.
Aegon.
Out names Aegon, Amon, whatever fucking the brat with the white hair. But Otto Otto just says, but Otto goes off and he says that like you're saying, it's like these were fathers, brothers, sons, and he's like, basically, we're trying to get more people to our cause. Your son died. We use that as a staple to get more supporters, and now you're killing. The king is killing innocent people in the fucking streets. You jackass, essentially, and that's what I liked it for. And he says, we had to make a bitter sacrifice by with that whole display of your son's body, and now you could have cost us more than you gained. And of course, he says right there, he's like, think about your father. Instead of judgment, display impetuousness. I love this fucking scene so much because Otto tears apart Aegon with just fucking words. And the way he says, my father's dead. His exact lines are, and we are the poorer for it. Oh boy. But, and right there, he was right about you. And of course, Aegon, just the way Otto fucking laughs. My father gave me the throne. And you just hear Otto laughing in the background, like, is that what you think? You think your father gave you the throne? No, he wanted to go to Rhaenyra, you fucking idiot. And as you said right there, so he walks out. Yeah, you know what? I dismiss you. Give up being hand and just like, and that's why I said with Reese Fiennes, you know his name, but
Yeah.
he's a very talented actor. Just to look in his face, like, yeah, I lost a hand again, and takes it off the pin, calls me insolent pup. What do you want to do with this now? Give it to Kristen Cole. What? Even Kristen's like, giving it to me. I don't want this shit. He just fucking auto throws it at him and just tells him, he says, you will regret this and you've been dismissed. And I do want to hear your opinion on this episode. I like Otto a lot because he's being a very smart hand to the king. And yeah, just everything fucking Viserys worked for, and you're tearing this shit down, and you're not fucking thinking as a king. You're thinking as a father, which from a politician and a military standpoint is a massive fucking mistake right now.
I'm guessing right about now, Otto is starting to regret putting Aegon on the phone because the one thing with Otto that most people realize highly where Otto is concerned, when Otto was chosen to become Hand of the King to Jaehaerys Targaryen, Jaehaerys was old. So Otto could manipulate a lot of shit because Jaehaerys wasn't in his right frame of mind in a lot of ways. He could effectively rule the kingdom. Viserys was very weak in certain aspects that he should have been stronger in, but he kept Otto around. He kept Otto around due to the fact that they were really good friends and like they could get along, and there were a lot of things that Viserys didn't want to do that Otto wound up doing for him and put him in great like standing with King. Then Otto played with fire way too many times with sending Alicent to Viserys right after his wife died. Talking Alicent into like doing little small favors for the king to get him to like fall for her in some way, shape, or form. And like then they get married, then she has a son, then she gives him a daughter, then she gives him another son, and like I said, we find out in this episode she gives him another son that's been living in Old Town. You literally realize Otto has been manipulating the system for so long to gain power into his family, and now he's finally to the point where he got his grandson on the throne, but I think he's starting to think he backed the wrong horse, even though that is his grandchild. And it's not like he can back Aemon, it's not like he can back Daeron. They're younger than Aegon. He can't back Helena. Helena's married to Aegon. And if he were to back Helena, that's even more of a slap in the face to Rhaenyra. He is probably thinking at this point he should have backed Rhaenyra.
There's only one Charles Dance. There's only one Tywin. Obviously Aegon is not afraid of Otto the way Joffrey was afraid of Tywin. But like Tywin, though, I do think Otto, right now, he's not being a grandfather, he's being the hand. That's one thing I do like about Tywin. Tywin was thinking that, Joffrey, you're just there as a fucking as a showpiece. Tywin's actually running the show. This is in a sense the way they're treating Aegon. Otto and Allison are running the show. Aegon, you're just there as as a figurehead.
The one thing that a lot of people had said where this was concerned is the simple fact that they feel not Otto, Tywin based his whole freaking like persona around the way Otto is. Because Otto effectively ruled the kingdom. Otto was hand of the king for 3 kings. Tywin was hand of the king for 3 kings before his death.
Rhaenyra is gonna let the White Worm go, but she's she's like not gonna kill her, but she's just gonna keep her eye on her. But just yeah, get out of here. These fucking wide shots in this show are just so amazing to look at. But as you pointed out to me, which I didn't catch the first time, this is why I like get someone's feedback. As she's walking to the ship, she sees somebody walking up from the ship, and wait a second, I know it's a quick still, but hey, wait, that's he looks pretty familiar, almost like I recognize this guy as being the twin brother who just got there to kill Rhaenyra, and oh shit, he does at one point see his brother, and very just yeah, right there, he just cuts to the corner, so brother doesn't see him. Rhaenyra is going to her bedchamber, she's about to go to sleep, and then he tells him he's like, I'm restless, and I'll stand guard duty, but makes it there, pulls out his sword, and he's like, sorry, I had no choice. And of course, he goes to kill Rhaenyra. A pretty good fight scene. To my knowledge, it's the same actor, correct? This isn't.
No, they are twins.
They're twins in real life. That is, wow. Okay, because I wasn't sure if it's just excellent CGI, but actual real life twins. So pretty good fight scene. At one point, it's hard to tell which one is which, but the good twin, the one protecting Rhaenyra, he gets cut on his leg. They're going back and forth. Some people didn't like the how quick the combat was and not telling who was who. As a fan, I liked it because the fans are just like Rhaenyra. We're watching this fight scene and we're not sure who to fucking root for because we're not sure which one's winning. I thought it was enjoyable, but in the end, and like it's a good little bit of dialogue that the Rhaenyra brother he's winning. He's like, brother, I still love you. He doesn't want to kill his brother. He has to, but he doesn't want to.
It's actually like that in the books too. In the book too, he and Eric do have like a massive fight. They and it does get to the point where it's like you can't tell who is who. You can't tell who is Eric, who is Arik, and even in the battle, if you notice, all their wounds are the same. They're kicking the shit out of each other, and every wound is pretty much the same. Then it's like, oh no, wait, Eric's the one who has like blood running from his freaking mouth. Oh wait, Arik does as well.
Yeah, so he's dead, and of course Rhaenyra, we're not sure which one survived, but we'll say the good one. And he can't live with the guilt of killing his brother, so he impales himself with a sword. And some people they thought it was kind of stupid, but like also his armor, if you look right there, there is um, different gaps in the armor. Puts the sword basically beneath his belly and just takes a sword and just he falls on the sword and just can't live with the shame of killing his brother. And boy, and that's it for the twins. That's why I said didn't really care about their names because it's not going to matter after this episode. And we have one last scene between Otto and his daughter Allison, basically talking about Aegon can be kept in check. Just talking about trying. I wouldn't say manipulate Aegon, but you have to control him. And as you said, and when I was on a different stream, apparently in the book there's another brother, and the name does get mentioned in this scene. Whatever that the kid's name is, Danar or some shit.
Daron. Do you call him Danar?
But and just one last time with fucking with Allison. Allison's like, Father, I have sinned, and to the point where it makes you wonder, almost like how the strong guy was the baby daddy of Rhaenyra's kids, and okay, definitely it's this big secret that you're fucking Kristen Cole. Everybody knows chick, and the final fucking dialogue with her is, Father, I've some sins to confess, and he's like, yeah, I don't want to hear about it, bitch.
The whole reason her and Rhaenyra have the issue to begin with, because Rhaenyra fucked Kristen Cole. And it's like, bitch, you're doing the same fucking thing she did. Quit living her life.
But we will yet prevail and bring forth peace. I still believe it. Because Otto, as messed up as he can be, he doesn't want this war. He didn't want the war with Viserys. Viserys was, and that was also the problem with Daemon, how quick Daemon is to action. Otto doesn't want this to happen. He does, in his mind, some people would say yes, Otto could be the villain, but I still take it as Otto. In his mind, he's always been doing what's good for the realm, and he still does want peace. And that's a good, I think, a very good line from Otto right there. The worst mother ever because poor Aegon. And I take it as Aegon's been raging, he's been pissed off. This has all been happening during the course of the day. Aegon finally has time to like sit down, break down, bust out fucking crying. His kid is dead. And Allison sees him crying. Does Allison give her son a hug? Does she pet him? She looks at him, just walks away. Like, what a bitch. And I'm not sure how the scene plays out in the sense that maybe you could elaborate more, but I guess she's pissed off, she's frustrated, so she keeps smacking him repeatedly. And of course, it just as she smacks him, it turns him on, and she's turned on, and of course they have hot, passionate, weird, kinky sex.
Instead of, checking on your emotionally unstable daughter, checking on your emotionally unstable son, checking on your other emotionally unstable son, maybe writing a letter to Old Town about the kid that you abandoned. You go and you beat up your lover to get him in the mood.
Next time we'll have the setup where it's like, yeah, we'll be in different rooms. We're always testing things out. And nice to have a guest like you that's in the same room, but the sound should sound better. And we will discuss episode 3. So overall, I'll give my thoughts and your thoughts because we're taking turns. But I did like episode 2 a lot. It had only one dragon scene, and some people are saying that they feel the season's kind of slow because Game of Thrones was pretty busy. If you watch Game of Thrones, the first few seasons, Game of Thrones was never a big action-packed show. It doesn't have like a lot of big battle sequences. Later on, they do when you start getting to more dragons and White Walkers and shit. But the first few seasons were about political intrigue and build-up. House of the Dragon, even season 1 had some battle sequences, but like besides like Damon fighting the crab man, I did like the dragon scene. The red dragon, bloodworm creature, Syraxes or Cyrax, whatever it's called. Look in your face.
Okay, stop talking. Stop talking already, please. Please. His name was the Crab Feeder.
Okay.
There were 2 dragon scenes. Daemon taking off on Caraxes, you see Moon Dancer. The name of Daemon's dragon is the Bloodworm. That's his nickname, and his real name is Caraxes. As for my final thoughts on the episode, I thought it was good. I thought it was better than episode 1 because there were no deceased children. It really makes you feel for Aegon and Helena. You do kind of like Otto a little bit in this episode, which is hard to say because I really fucking can't stand Otto Hightower. Can't fucking stand Allison at all, which is a big switch up from last episode because I did kind of feel for her when she was at the sept and she's lighting the candles for Illyri and then for Viserys and then for Luke. Aemon's tortured, Helena's tortured, Aegon's tortured, Darren's forgotten about.
Otto, I think Otto did an excellent job, and I do want to see what's going to happen next. I do think that Aegon's going to make some mistakes, and I think at some point Aegon will regret giving up his grandfather's hand to the king because Otto can be a dick, but in this situation, he's right.
I feel bad for Otto. Dude! Come on. All right. Peace out, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. I'm done.